Hi, this is Keiko from Brooklyn Shoe Space. Today for Shoe Talks, we are inviting David Yulin. He is a professor at FIT. I found his work through FIT. I didn't really go there, but I started with Marika being there. I also know Sarah Mullen, and then all the students have told me about different teachers, and David has always been an amazing teacher, mentions. And then he also did a show with Marika and Francis and Amara, and who else was there? There were a few more, Eddie and some other bespoke shoemakers. We did a show about maybe 3.5 years ago at our space. That's how I know him. Let's see if he has joined me. Let's see. Maybe not yet. He is working out of New Rochelle, which was initially in the US, sort of like the beginning of the coronavirus. So I think I wanted to ask how he's doing. He has shown me photos on Instagram, photos of roadblocks where there's quarantine zones in town, and I think it was basically kind of on his block. So I was wondering if he actually even got to go outside. All right, is he here? Hold on. Nope, he's not here yet. I can wait. Or I can try to text him. Hi, Shoe Girl Studio. Thanks for joining us. I wonder where everybody's from. Renee, thank you for coming and joining us. Zoe, cool. I think, David Yulin joined. Okay. Hi, David. Yep. So I see you. Okay.
Hi.
Hello. How are you, David?
Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah.
It's good. Let me get my camera set a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, great. Ooh.
I've been rushing around. I haven't cleaned up too much, but
you are
straightening out.
are you at the workshop? That's great.
I am at the shop, and I have lots of beautiful windows, but air conditioning. But I'm right on Route 95, so I had to close the window. So I should probably be drenched within the hour.
Yeah, it must be really warm. But hey, so I wanted to go back a little bit about the lockdown, how you've been doing, because I think, wasn't it your town where you are, New Rochelle, isn't it? It was the first hit town. I felt like it was just even before the pandemic kind of, Governor Cuomo gave the lockdown.
Yeah, it was pretty. Let me see. Sorry,
No, it's okay.
just set this tripod up and I borrowed the tripod.
That's great.
It was pretty scary. I mean, all of a sudden, and we all knew it was coming, right?
Right.
And to some degree, but then all of a sudden, one day, they discovered there were, I don't know, over 100 people in the town who had been exposed.
Yeah.
And they very quickly started a little, like a quarantine, not really quarantine, like a containment area in that area where the was found. And literally overnight, from like a regular, normal New Rochelle to a ghost town.
Yeah.
Visual.
Yeah. And so
freaky because it hadn't been really talked about much here
right
up until that point. But right now, things are very good here.
Okay, good. So were you just quarantining at home, working from home? Were you?
Well, I stayed home as much as possible.
Yes.
I'm in the high-risk age group.
Yes.
And I thought that I should heed all of the best advice I could hear.
Right,
and
right.
Initially,
somehow the video is very choppy. The image, you're like blurring a little bit. Can everybody else see?
I'm not sure how to fix it. What if I move it forward, maybe?
Yeah. Oh. Can you see yourself?
I do. It looks, I mean, not that I want to look at myself, but it doesn't look blurry.
Okay. Okay. I wonder why. Okay. I wonder if it's a connection issue. I don't know why.
It might be. Do you want to log off and log back in?
I think the sound is working. So let's see. So occasionally I think it blurs and then it,
all right. Maybe I was moving around too much.
No, it's okay. No, I don't know what it is. But as long as you're okay, I think I'm okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us, so you weren't the age group as well, and you're staying at home.
I stayed at home and worked from home, mostly at my shop here. I'm really not doing a lot of work right now. I have half a dozen orders, but I'm really have become very picky and choosy about what I will do here, because I don't want to just keep my nose to the grindstone the way I've done most of my life. So I want to kind of like do more enjoyable jobs. So I'm being real picky. As a result, I only have a handful of jobs right now. And all of them are longtime customers. So they're not desperate. They have other shoes, and it's something that they were very understanding, and they don't mind waiting until things get back in motion again.
Right. And
although last 2 weeks I've been working.
Oh, that's great. Well, we'll get to it, and I would love to see your shop too. But I think also you are teaching as well, so you had to switch to online teaching as well. Was that hard for you?
It was very time consuming to make that switch like instantly, because it really was within a week. FIT took a 1 week break, and whole week was a preparation week for the faculty and staff to be able to try and learn as much as we could possibly learn about teaching the type of things that we teach remotely. And our department, as you know, is all hands-on. Yeah. So it was super challenging for all of us, because of our students spread out over the world, right? And some of them had some supplies, some didn't have supplies. We had to kind of like figure out who had what, and with those things, how we could try and come up with a way of achieving the learning outcomes that we planned in the semester. Wow. And
everybody's also on a different time zone, I guess. Somewhere in Asia, I believe. That's like totally, I don't know how you guys did it. Did you have FaceTime, like a set time?
Well, I tried a little bit of everything. We have Blackboard at FIT, and I have been using Blackboard for several years now, and I wanted to continue with it and maybe like try and expand my experience with Blackboard. So that was my first choice. It has a lot of technical issues, and I'm not sure whether it was the heavy usage at that time, because it was like literally overnight all the schools switched over to remote learning, and so Blackboard, I'm sure, had much heavier usage than it's ever seen before. Had some problems with that, technical problems with the connections and everything. We tried Zoom, which is really wonderful. It worked well for us, but there was some kind of there was no contractual agreement with FIT, so it was outside the FIT system.
Yeah.
So we were asked not to continue using Zoom.
Right.
So then I used Google Meet, which also was very good.
Okay. Wow.
I think I'm going to be persistent with Blackboard because there's so many tools that are integrated with the whole thing, and it is a SUNY, a state of New York university tool that we use. I'm going to continue trying to push that as we go along, but yeah, we use a little of everything.
Right. Very cool. I mean, it's just another way of teaching. I mean, I feel like it's way more work for you actually, and really hard to get the tactile, you know, hands-on like nuances to explain to the person. But I hope it went well.
It did go well, actually. We had, well, one of the I don't live far away from my workshop, so I really had the opportunity to come here and pick up all of the tools and supplies that I could have possibly wanted and or even taught from. But I felt like that would put the students who had to leave, like get on a plane real fast and go home, and didn't have a chance to bring any tools or supplies with them. And in India, they don't even have, like, you can't even order supplies and have it delivered because it was like shutdown.
Wow.
Like,
wow.
So, and some of my students are there. So I decided to poll the class and find out what everyone actually had to work with, and then we would come up with a way of approaching the end of the semester based on that, and basically work with materials that I could find at home and encourage them to do so also. And what was not possible to finish physically in 3D, then we would do images of that and then finish them in Photoshop and Illustrator to make the finished pieces for presentation. And in the end, it was really rough start, but the end was just super impressive. I was really pleased. Not that I would want to do it every semester, but it was really very satisfying that the whole both classes that I teach, well, 3 of them, got so much out of the end of the semester.
Oh, good.
I'm really thankful we had the first half of the semester in face-to-face though.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And a little bit about yourself. I would love to hear how you started shoemaking and how long you've been shoemaking. I also heard that you're certified fit orthist. I would love to hear all about that. And can we go back to your beginnings a little bit?
Sure. It was a long time ago, but I can still remember most of it.
I'm glad. You can share with us.
I lived in Quincy, Massachusetts, which was outside Boston. I moved there from New Jersey when I was a teenager. And I was going to high school there, and I had found a local leather craft shop and shoe repair shop that I hit it off with the owner, and I was actually making little leather crafty type of things when I was a teenager, all on my own. And he looked at some of the stuff and he said, "Hey, you want to work here part-time?" And I said, "Okay." So I worked there with him part-time. And he had a small factory just making, aside from his shoe stuff, he had a small factory to make accessories, and then he had business selling those things. So I started there, and after quite a few months, I asked if he could let me learn about the shoes a little bit, and said okay. And it was also at the beginning of the new school year. So in my high school, you could arrange for a work-study program.
Ooh, how cool is that?
And then to work for, you know, if someone vouched for you, had something to teach you, to work there for the second half of the day. And then credit for it and graduate. So I did that, in junior and senior year, just outside Boston, actually. And that was, I started there, it was called the Cobbler's Hut. I started at the Cobbler's Hut in 1969.
1969,
and I stayed with
wow.
Yes, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I stayed with him for 3 years. And then I went and worked in many other places, and I picked up a little bit of information from each of the various people I worked with, and I don't know, the range of things that I experienced was just a wide, broad range of things, but I never really had formal shoemaking training, although I worked with several people who were shoemakers so that I could see it on a daily basis.
And back then, is it a shoe repair shop? They also made custom order shoes?
He did, because he had a German shoemaker who couldn't speak English.
Okay.
And I couldn't speak German.
Yeah.
But the German shoemaker was an orthopedic shoemaker.
Okay.
And we kind of, in that shop at the Cobbler's Hut, we kind of focused for the orthopedic shoes on children's footwear.
Oh, okay.
Because we had 2 doors up the street from us, there was a shoe store it's called, it's long gone, Child Teen Shoes.
Child Teen.
Teen. And their focus was on children's footwear, particularly children's footwear that was to accommodate like any kind of orthopedic issues that the children had. So we did a lot of work with children's shoes, tons. Billy Bueller, the German shoemaker, he would take the special orders, and I could watch what he was doing.
Would you call this German shoemaker your mentor? Or you have multiple?
He's one of a long line of mentors. I don't have like a really specific one mentor.
Yeah.
But in that shop, Billy was one, and then the other was the owner's name was John Caporale. And John was, before he started this shoe and leather business, he worked in the factory making hockey skate boots.
Wow. Okay.
So again, this was in the Boston area.
Yeah.
And he's a big thing in Boston.
Yeah.
And way back then,
there were factories. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he went off on his own and started this little company. He was very enterprising. He had several aspects of the company, as I said. So it was made everything from custom clothing to footwear.
Wow.
And repaired everything from footwear to convertible car tops. So
wow.
It was bizarre. There was quite a few people working there. It was really, really
very cool. And then what did you do? You just kept on learning from different makers?
I did.
Shoe repair shops, or?
I worked in some factories, and I worked in several shoe repair shops. I worked in some. I worked in sandal factory, shoe factory, a jacket making factory.
Ooh, what did you do there? I'm curious.
In the jacket making factory, I was a cutter, hand cutting, a clicker, right? And that was really, really, I learned a lot. I mean, that's one little thing, right? That's one little aspect of what we do. But I learned so much there from the older, experienced cutter. I mean, I was a teenager. And they were, I would have had to work many, many years to be anywhere near as good as any of them. But they were very knowledgeable, and they were older men. They had been doing it for a long, long time. And I was like in heaven learning from them. It was kind of nice.
Yeah.
To learn from experts. And it's very focused. It's not like they cross-trained and learned all different kinds of things in the factory. They just were the cutters.
Yeah.
And then in the shoe factory, I just worked in the warehouse.
Okay.
It wasn't very glorious. And sandals, though, I did do a lot of sandal making. The stores that we worked for would take measurements, tracings, and orders, and then send them to the fabrication shop, which is a different location, and we would just follow the orders from the fabrication shop.
Wow.
But then I worked in like a lot of different shoe repair places. And in 1977, I bought a friend of mine who was kind of specializing in horse tack and harness, and dog leashes and things like that, doing them wholesale. He decided he wanted to move, so he was selling his little business, which didn't have everything I would want, but it had a lot to get me started, and it was a very reasonable price. So I bought that from him in '77. And that was the beginning of this company, the Cobbler and Cordwainer. Which I'm totally tired of the name at this point, but that's a whole different story. But
I want to, yeah, I would love to hear, like, why did you pick Cobbler and Cordwainer? Like, you're not, it is a wide range and it covers everything. Is that why you chose the name?
It's partly why. Yeah, there's that's one of the reasons. Is it I wanted to use Cobbler in respect for John Caporelli's Cobbler Hut.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be thought of as just a repair person, because I was also taking custom orders for accessories and sandals in particular at the time. So I wanted to indicate that there was more to it than just being a cobbler. Also, I opened this in Lincoln, Massachusetts, which is slightly northwest of Boston. It's a small, tight, well-educated community. And I wanted to get people in there to ask me what was a cordwainer. And they did. And it's never stopped. So I used it for that, and I also I just love the word cordwainer, its etymology, and I really wanted to incorporate that.
All right. Yeah, and then your journey of your shop, has it moved locations or?
Yeah, a few times. I was in the original I was in 2 different locations in Massachusetts. And then and there was a lot of varied things I did while I was there, because that the whole footwear world was changing tremendously.
Yeah.
60s and 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
It was basically this country
and
going offshore.
Yeah.
So as a result, and I had I had taken a lot of clients who were manufacturers. So I was like an OEM repair shop for a lot of the footwear. And also I would do sort of like high-end repair work, where if somebody brought in a shipment of product and they had some kind of a problem with that product, and they felt that it worked out in a workshop setting here in the US, I could get things. And so I was up to my ears in work. But a lot of those OEM accounts really turned into problems after the work started, the work where the stuff is manufactured started going to the Far East. And then I couldn't get the original supplies so readily. And so it turned into a nightmare late in the 80s and in early 90s for me.
So you saw the entire shoe industry, really? Yeah, you just saw it just vanish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I may get to watch it come back now, though.
Yeah. Well, so 80s, 90s. So were you always solely working on your cobbler and cordwainer shop, or? Yeah.
I've done a few other things in the meantime. I worked as a photographer, and I've done a few things in the meantime, but I always came back to this because it turns out that even though sometimes I would have a hard time making a living and feeling satisfied with the work that I was doing on a day-to-day basis, I always, when I tried something else, I would always come back to it, because it really is where my heart is. And my I have to work with my hands. It's just something that I have withdrawal. So so I kept coming back to it. I never really let it go. I always had in Massachusetts, I had people working for me, so I had some liberty. And then I lost my lease there in 1993, and just the year before that had met a woman here in New York that I really liked a lot. And since I had to move my shop from losing the lease, I thought, let me look around New York, see if there's anywhere in New York to move to.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't easy. It took about a year, but I found this place where I still am in New Rochelle. So I've been here since 1993.
Mm-hmm.
And when I came here, I let go of all retail repair work, and I only kept my corporate.
Got it. I'm taking notes because you have such a history. I'm just like, wow. Okay, cool. And then, but then, when did you start teaching? Like, did you always have people in your
Well,
workshop?
I've always had people that work with me, and younger people that
wanted to learn the trade.
I have to say, but in 2006, I was asked. The senior footwear instructor at FIT is Charlotte Batten, and she was taking a semester off, and I was asked if I might be willing to fill in for her for that semester. 2006 when I started there, and I did, and then I was asked back, and I've been there since. So it's even that's starting to become a long time now. Yeah.
And what's the ratio of now teaching and your work? Like, I know it's not easy.
Teaching.
More teaching.
Yeah, more teaching, really. And the work that I do at the shop is really more for, it's just really to keep some of my longtime customers happy, keep them well shod. And, but the teaching is really what I'm most focused on now. Yeah.
That's great. Mad Taylor Leather Milan says, I'll tell her hi to Charlotte because I think he lives now about 10 minutes away, I heard.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So he can go and say hi. Well, that's so great. When did you?
As a result of working at FIT, I was able to have like really a lot of really wonderful experiences meeting other people in the footwear educational end of footwear, and actually have had just fantastic experience. I've been to Italy several times and worked with Orthotics. To this day, I work with Orthotics on special projects regularly. So it's been the FIT experience has been very fruitful for me, even though it's got its challenges because it's a public institution and things don't always move as smoothly as you would like them to.
Right. But, Renee Vandenberg asks, are there many orthopedic shoemakers in the US? So when did you get into the orthopedic shoemaking? Like, did you learn through?
Well, I started when I was initially in the very first shop.
Right.
But I continued really focusing on that as a personal interest over the years. And but actually by the 80s, I was making orthopedic footwear for people, especially orthopedic footwear. It wasn't very beautiful. And sometimes it just can't be depending on the problem you're addressing. But I was doing footwear for people who couldn't buy shoes even way back then. And over the years, I continued focusing primarily on that and working with teaming up with doctors and everything. When I moved down to New York from the Boston area, I decided it was time to get an official certification. So I went to school for that and met all the requirements for Orthotic certification, and then I passed the national board exam, and so I've been certified since 1997. And that's really the most, I would say most of my customers are still orthopedic issues. And then some of the others are people who just want to have prototyping done and things like that. But there are probably not enough orthopedic shoemakers in this country.
Yeah.
We really could use more. Not the training in the US has not been up to the level that the training in Europe is, like in Holland or so we really do need more.
Yeah. Why do you think that there's not that many people? Like, is it because the accessibility to the classes or the school or courses, or Why do you think there's like a lack?
There's yeah, part of it is the training it's not readily available.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a sort of underlying issue that's related to the whole thing. A lot of not quite sure how to put this, but in simple terms,
yeah,
there's some government reimbursement for certain footwear problems, but they focus primarily on diabetic footwear.
Right.
Because there is reimbursement for diabetic footwear, there are some larger manufacturers who have focused on diabetic footwear to make custom orthopedic shoes. Mm-hmm. So they're the largest group of manufacturers for orthopedic shoes, but they're very limited by the reimbursement rates. So the work that they do is really pushed out quickly.
Wow.
In order to be able to manufacture at those rates. And they're not necessarily well trained for dealing with other issues.
Right.
Like a million other
issues. Yeah.
So, and when they do deal with them, they often just make a diabetic shoe for a deformed foot. I mean,
oh no, because that's what they can make in a setting, almost like a factory setting in a way. Or no? Yes. Yeah, they do it more. Mm-hmm.
Their factory settings. What they do is practitioners will take casts or measurements of the client's feet and then send them off to the factory. And there's a handful of factories here in the country, but not many.
Not many. And
there's not. You can get a degree in orthopedic shoemaking in Holland, and I think also in Germany through school. Here, there is no such thing. I mean, the closest you can get is a certification.
Yeah, I see.
And that's limited because it's still very focused on the type of work that gets reimbursed.
Right.
Because that's companies who are hiring orthotists.
And you also have to do an internship, right? Afterwards, I heard some sort of like hands-on work.
1,000 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours.
It has to be, yeah, and it's not just with anybody anywhere. It has to be an approved facility. It's a lot of, but I think it's very important.
I agree.
If they do that.
I agree. Yeah. Do you know if European licenses translate to the U.S. license or no?
I don't know, but I doubt it. I think that if you wanted to move here and become a pedorthist, you would have to either show equivalence in your education and then take the certification exam. Or take more courses before taking the certification.
Right.
You might be able to get credit for prior service, prior work. So if someone came here from overseas and had that experience, they could probably get some credit, if not all credit for that.
Oh, right. So. And then sorry, just asking a question from a viewer. Renee also again asked, do the customers have to pay for the shoes themselves, or are they paid by medical insurance?
The customer, well, with me, yes, the customers have to pay. The only reimbursement, government reimbursement, is for diabetic footwear, and I cannot compete with those factories. So I stopped doing that type of work 20-something years ago.
Right.
There are other times when you could get paid by insurance, but it's usually for workman's compensation and that disability, those kind of insurance.
Thank you.
But almost all of the places that do this type of work outside the diabetic specialists, it's the client pays.
Right. Thank you so much for explaining, because it's like it was a mystery to me too. Do you keep all the lasts of your clients? Say when you take
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. And I mean, I never know how long to keep them, but I do keep them. And I have some really bizarre looking lasts. I have one customer who I don't know what year, it was in the mid to late 90s. He wanted he was in his 80s, mid 80s or so, and he wanted a new pair of shoes, and all of his shoemakers were no longer working. And he had his last. He brought me his last. He had them with notes from like the 1940s.
Wow.
So I got a box of his last, and every shoemaker who had worked to make him shoes, you know, had notes plus the modifications they added to the lasts. They're unbelievable. If I can find them. If I could find them, do you want to see them?
I would like to, but you know, if it's super easy to find.
If they're in a box, I'm going to take one. I'm going to walk just to see if they're in a box where I think that they are. If they are, we'll look. If they're not, then we'll have to put it off for the time you come visit. I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That is cool. Right now, for those of you who just joined, I'm interviewing David Euland. He has been making leather goods, shoes. I think he's also been repairing as well. He makes orthopedic shoes as well as bespoke custom shoes. He's been doing it for over 50 years, basically. Yeah, right. Over 50 years. And he's always had his shop since the 70s. I'm just kind of recapping what your timeline. Did you find it?
I did.
Ooh, you're so organized.
Well, you wouldn't know when you take the tour, you won't think so.
It's an organized chaos.
Yeah, I suppose. So this is, I'm not sure if you can see it. This is actually one of the last. Oh, I'm sorry. I have the window in the way. It's got really super duper high end stuff.
Wow. Yeah.
It's really been, I don't know how many layers of leather have been added over the years.
Yeah.
But you can see that it's just been modified over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And as I said, the notes, you can even see.
Whoa.
You see in here, there's got to be at least 5 layers of modifications.
Yeah.
Not the same shoemaker, different shoemakers over the years.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And of course, the new leather is the ones that I use.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Wow. Wow.
So anyway, they were a very curious pair of lasts. I looked at them and I thought, oh my God, I think we can make shoes on those. But we did.
Yeah, and the customer's happy, because it fits.
I think it was just 2 pair. Not sure. It might have been 3 pair, but I know for sure I made him 2 pair over the years. And I don't know if he's still walking.
Right. Well, by the time he came to you, he was already in his 80s. Yeah. Oh, that's so great. Yeah. Do you have like boxes and boxes of lasts like that?
Well, I'm not really a high volume maker, but I have dozens, of those. I have, what time is it? I don't know, do you want to see some of the crazy lasts?
Yes, and let's have a little tour of your shop, if that's okay.
I'm not sure I can do this. I'm going to try and switch.
Yeah, you just touch the screen and it flips.
Okay, so just be patient with me and I'll try and walk around together. Okay. Flipping it. Yeah, I see. All right, let me get you out of the tripod.
Okay. Oh. Oh, yep, you're back.
Back again.
Okay.
This is what I'm going to use when I retire. That's my rocking chair.
Nice. Did you make it?
I don't know when that will happen. But here's these lasts I'm actually going to throw away because I know I don't have this customer anymore. But this is so there's a whole variety of ways of making lasts. I'm sure you know. Yeah. And this is one of the ways that I like least to make a last with plaster. It's got the drawback of no matter how good the last is, it barely survives making a pair of shoes on it. Right. So you only get to use it twice. But this is a plaster last. This woman had terrible hammer toes and bunion, you could see. And there's a ton of work that you have to do with this when you cast the person.
Yeah.
It's not really at all, it's a foot. It's not only a foot, it's a deformed foot. And this is the other foot.
Wait, can we see? Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Almost looks like the person's toes were like crunched, like that.
They were. She has like, yeah, all hammer toes all the way across the whole front.
Wow.
And then there's a extra depth on the bottom to make like a nice padded removable insert that can be renewed whenever it's necessary. So that's one. Let me see. This is my front door. I'm at the front door.
Yeah.
And these are, I love machines. So I've kind of collected a lot of machines, even though over the years I've sold more than I own today.
Yes. And thank you, because you've sold us a heel molder.
Yeah.
A heel counter
I hope
molder.
that it serves you well.
Yes. Vegan Cordwainer has it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's great. That's good to hear. So this is, I have two rooms. This is the front room. And right outside is Route 95. If you ever need a traffic report on Route 95, I got it.
Yeah, we'll call you.
I share the space here with, this is another one of my favorite old machines.
Oh, Singer. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So ornate.
Red eye. Yeah. But I share the space with Matteo Mattia.
Oh, yes, I know. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah. We both have friends who call up and say, what's the traffic like on Route 95? I'm going into the city. This is my, over there we have my post machine. It's all covered because I have some leaks in here, so I'm afraid to, I could uncover it, but
no, it's okay.
sewing machine. This is my 3115 that I do most of my flat work on.
That's a lot of shoemakers' favorites. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually literally a 3119, but I converted it to be equivalent to a shoemaker's 3115.
Oh, okay. What
did
you change? I'm curious. Like how?
Well, it had, I don't know. Do you know what a vibrating foot is?
No.
Pardon me for moving.
Sorry, I thought it. Sure, I
can you see the?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a foot right here, and that foot goes back and forth.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
That foot is just a loose foot, so it presses down on the feed dog below, presses on the feed dog below, and pinches the leather, and then it gets holds the leather while the stitch is completed, and then moves it. So that's called vibrating foot.
Yeah.
And the 3115 doesn't have that, but the 3115 did. It's a little heavier duty. So I had to like convert some of that stuff that goes in around the foot.
Wow.
So that's sort of like
your
messy work.
So yeah.
Sewing area. And then in the back room, let's see, I switched this back to the wrong direction.
Oh, wow.
Entering into the second room. This is more my machine room.
Yeah.
And
blasts. Supplies.
I have a whole separate room for storing lasts.
Right.
This is just some machines. Since I sold you the machine, the back part molder, I've sold several more of the machines that I used to have here. And so I'm really kind of paring down to those few things that I really need the most.
Clicker, nice.
Yeah, clicker, I don't know, all kinds of stuff.
Wow, fun.
This is an area that I use for kind of like pattern layout and cutting. Yeah. With some letter storage back here.
Yeah. Wow. You have a big space. Light. Yeah, beautiful light. Yeah.
And then a whole nother room of lasts, hundreds and hundreds of pairs of lasts.
Wow. Wow.
So
yeah.
That's my mess.
That's so great. Do you have a downdraft table for gluing?
Yeah, but it's homemade, but it's great.
Yeah, it works.
It works fantastic.
Great.
A lot of people aren't aware that That's the Downdraft table.
Oh,
for
nice,
cementing.
nice. Yeah, yeah.
It may be changing now with newer cements, but I don't think it's changed tremendously. But a lot of people aren't aware that most of the fumes that are toxic are heavier than air.
Yeah, so it goes
and
down.
Once you know that, you can create a table and just work over the table, and you have gravity on your side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a minimal table, but it works really well.
Yes. At the shoe space too, we didn't get like a pre-made one. We made one. We designed and made one. And Eddie, you know Eddie, the Cowboy boot maker? Yeah, he and we just designed it. He helped me make it because he's so good at making and building things. That was a long time ago. But yeah. Cool, very cool. You have such a beautiful workshop. It's
really, really nice. It wasn't, I mean, it has its problems, you know, but I can afford to be here, so that makes it beautiful.
Yes, yes.
When I first moved in here, all these windows that you see, right?
Yeah.
They're insulated windows, and they're really nice to have. And we have beautiful north light. They were green plastic warehouse windows that was like reinforced with chicken wire.
Oh.
And you couldn't see through them, and you couldn't keep the wind and dirt and dust out or the sound out.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have been able to hear me with those old windows.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
So these windows have been here about 6 years, and every time I walk through the door, I'm like, oh, and that's why I come here.
Right. And this space, you've had it since the 90s, or?
Since 1993.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, I'm the longest tenant in this building with the current landlord.
Are you close to the Tidal New York location? I just spoke to them yesterday, and I just realized that you're both in the same town. Yeah,
we're very close. I mean, driving, you could be there in like less than 5 minutes.
Wow.
You could walk there in 10 minutes. Well, maybe 10, 12 minutes.
It's in a similar like industrial area?
It's actually in a different neighborhood, but they're sort of, they're very close to one another. Yeah. And I've been there. I'm so glad that you got to speak with Tim. That place is really impressive.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is just exemplary.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm glad that you got to speak with them.
Yes.
And when you come visit them, maybe you can double up a visit.
I would love that. Yes. Do you have visitors? And also, like, do you also host some students at your location as well?
I have in the past, but with the situation right now, I have to do any of that until things sort of resolve. Right. And then we'll see, you know, how soon that is, and I'll open it up. But usually I just do one-on-one stuff. I still have some of my previous students who come, well, none during the lockdown yet. No. But who come to work here and you know, spend a little time with me.
Great, great. What's your favorite tool in your workshop?
Oh my goodness. Favorite. Well, if I had to pick, okay, I'm going to put it back on the camera back on the other direction. If I had to pick a most closest to my heart tool, it would be this hammer.
Uh-huh. Is there a story? Yeah.
It's an ugly old hammer, but this came from Billy Buller.
Beautiful. Oh, your mentor. Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah.
It's so thin in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see how thin it is?
Yeah.
I mean, it was practically that thin when I got it as a 17-year-old kid. Let's see. There, you see?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's been cracked since I was a teenager. And everything that I do with a hammer, I mean, I have probably 30 hammers, but everything I do that's like serious daily routine work is with this hammer.
Uh-huh.
So this is the closest to my heart of all the tools.
Beautiful.
But my favorite might be a 5-in-1.
Uh-huh. Yes.
It just might be.
Yeah. It does so many things, you know? Yeah. Do you use all the equipment? So right now, everything you have, you said you pared it down. So everything you have now, you use them. Was there a point
Yes.
when you were like, okay, I have all these equipment, but I'm not using it?
Well, I've always used everything I own. And if I didn't use it for long, then I wouldn't keep it. But as I started being pickier and pickier about the work that I do, I discovered, you know, like my stitchers, right? I had a couple of stitchers, and outsole stitcher and McKay, you know, lock stitch McKay stitcher, and also the polishing machine. Some machines I realize I'm just not using that often. The stitchers I would use, you know, 4 or 5 times a year. The polishing machine, I basically started doing it by hand instead. So those things I thought, well, I could use the money more than the machines because they basically take up. I'd love to get rid of this machine, but I can't figure out how I get it downstairs.
Ooh.
I have an old press here. That,
can we see?
Yeah, I'll show you. This has been in some of my Instagrams, this machine. It's just an old sole press.
Yeah, and it's a pneumatic one.
It's hydraulic, but yes.
Oh, hydraulic, yeah. Not
the blue one over on the left.
Yeah.
This is made by Schwabe. It's really a great machine.
Yeah, it's great.
I've made that thing do some incredible stuff. Actually, I don't know, I would miss this terribly if I got rid of it. But this was, I had a custom, I don't know if I can get a good picture of it. I had a custom insole project. And it had to be for ladies' high heel. So with this machine, I was able to like heat mold something perfectly after I made the mold for it. You know, EVA mold. Very simple process, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't do that with hardly any other technique that I have. Then this is a newer edition. Yeah. Which
with a bladder, kind of.
Got it for sidewalls. Yeah.
Sidewalls. Yeah.
And but I haven't really done very many projects with that yet. These are actually, I'll take you to see one more thing. I apologize for the mess, but.
No, it's beautiful. I love it.
These are actual presses that are used to make shoe orthotics, you know, on molds of people.
Yeah.
So I don't think I have one in here. So.
Is it kind of like a vacuum form or?
It's a vacuum form, yeah. So I would take a plaster cast, then I would modify the cast. This is in the midst of being modified. It's not finished.
Oh, is that someone's foot? The bottom of someone's foot right there?
This is the bottom of the foot. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I would take the whatever plastic materials, thermal moldable materials I want, and I would heat them up and throw this inside here. Yeah. And then turn the valves so that it would draw the plastic down over the foot mold. But I did that because between these vacuum presses and that big, huge Schwabe, I can spend days and days and days making peculiar things with them.
Yeah. But amazing. Yeah. Wow. It's beautiful. Don't get rid of it yet.
I won't get rid of it. I would miss it.
Yeah. What's your favorite shoe that you've made in the past? What kind of a shoe was it? And who was it for? Was it an orthopedic shoe? Is it more fashion shoe?
Favorite. Oh, I don't know. Maybe. Okay. I have a friend in Florence. And she is, she's a shoe dog, just like us. But she's been very helpful for me. And every time I go to Italy, she's like, treats me like royalty. And she's friends with the Ferragamos. And when I went to visit her one time in Florence, she arranged to have like special one-on-one tour.
That's
of
great.
Their museum for me and my wife, and it was really nice. But she used to have get all of her shoes from the Ferragamos. She has a very narrow foot, but they stopped carrying the last that fits her.
Yeah.
And she can't talk them into making shoes for her.
Uh-huh.
So she told me this story many times over the several years. And I didn't want to say anything because I know I can't live up to the quality of Ferragamo footwear. But eventually I saw she was so frustrated she can't buy new shoes anymore. I told her that I have lasts that were the size she was telling me she used to buy. So I wasn't sure that it would work, and I wasn't sure how I would feel about the whole finished product in the end. But it turned out I was really happy with the way that they came out. It was basically copying the Ferragamo style on the last that I have. And she came from Italy for a Fanny event, and I met her at Shoes with Me. And she just plops them down. We met in the park. And she plops them down on the ground, and she takes off the shoes she was wearing and just jumps right into these shoes, and they fit perfect.
That's amazing. Did she walk away with it?
Just
walk in it. Yeah.
So since then, I've made her a couple more pairs, and I think that those are probably my favorite, just because I was so intimidated by the idea of, replacing a Ferragamo shoe for someone who personally got them from them. And yet I can never have a conversation with her without her being so gracious about it. So I think that those are, yeah.
That's great. That's so great. What do you think are the hurdles that you have as an independent maker from the USA, in your opinion?
I'm going to go to the other room.
Sorry.
My phone's...
Yeah. There's a phone ringing.
I think that the biggest hurdle is probably, it's changed, right? Now the biggest hurdle is probably to do with the fact that there's really no infrastructure here in the footwear industry. And you spoke about that yesterday with Tim. And I really think that's, and I know you've probably suffered that problem in the factory as well. Yeah. We don't have places to buy componentry. So we have to figure out ways to make our own componentry. And that's something that it's not easy when you don't have sometimes the raw materials to go. I mean, for example, steel shanks. When I was a kid, we used to be able to buy, lady steel shanks, like in probably 10 different lengths and probably 8 different heel pitches.
That is a dream.
No more.
No more. Yeah.
Or men's.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
So that's just one example, but it really goes to the fact that we just don't have anyone making footwear supplies for someone who wants to manufacture things, which is a good reason why a lot of people are becoming bespoke makers, because you got to do everything start to finish anyway. Yeah. But if you have any inkling towards production, it's a big option.
Yes. Thank you for explaining that. I know Instagram only allows us 60 minutes, and there's only 2 minutes remaining. Time is flying. Well, but
I want to thank you so much for having me.
But I
appreciate it.
I have one more question. If you had unlimited resources and the time in the world, what kind of shoe would you make, and for who?
I think I would probably make some really good supportive boots for my weak ankles.
Yes, I think you can do that right now, even.
Yeah, but I think I want to make a pair with no time pressure, just something like really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you think you want to be doing in 3 to 5 years?
Well, hopefully we'll be emerging from the pandemic,
COVID,
and I would love to be spending a lot more time in Italy.
Oh, yes. Okay. Sounds good.
And still working though.
Yeah, making shoes. Yes.
Yes.
I think that's totally doable. Yes. And thank you for taking your time. But one more last question in 30 seconds. Would you be taking interns or apprentices in your studio in the future once the pandemic may be settled?
I would like to do that, but I'm going to have to wait and see because it depends how much time I'm going to actually be spending here also.
Right.
If things get really good and I'm not here much, then it's not practical. But yes, I would like to do that.